Hello, Nats fans, and welcome to another edition of the post-game podcast. I'm Drew Douglas. I'm gonna be your host for tonight, and boy, man, that was a real rough game. The Nats, uh, they lost 2-1 in the end, but this game was really up for grabs. And Gio Gonzalez pitched. He got the start tonight for the Nats, and he really pitched a great game, I thought, overall. And it appeared he had good use, or he had good command of his secondary pitches, his changeup and his curveball, and fastball's a little shaky, and he was a little erratic at times, but there's nothing new for Gio. But he pitched well as a whole. He ended up going 7 innings and just didn't get any run support until the very end. And we'll go through the lines real quick here. Gio Gonzalez was handed the loss. He went 7 innings, allowed 2 hits on 1 run, 2 walks, and 9 strikeouts. So it was really a great outing from Gio. He started out, he wasn't too efficient, but he really settled in as the game went along. And I remember in the 3rd inning, the announcers on Fox, they were talking about how Gio might only be able to get through 5 innings. And really throughout the game, as I said, he settled in and ended up going 7 innings. His pitch count was pretty high. He was well over 100 pitches, but at the pace that he started out at, there was no way he was going to be able to go that deep into the game. I think the story of tonight's game was really, it wasn't a whole lot of offense. And from a team who hasn't been shut out all year, is looking all night like tonight could be their first shutout. But they were able to rally in the 9th and put up a run, and just too little too late from the offense. The hits tonight, Michael Taylor went 1 for 4, but also struck out 3 times in his first game leading off this season. Bryce Harper went 1 for 3. Daniel Murphy went 1 for 4, and Anthony Rendon went 2 for 4, and Stephen Drew went 1 for 4. So that's all the offense the Nats got. They only managed to string along 6 hits, and most of them came at the end. They finally started to put up a fight, but it's just too little too late, I think, is the main storyline from tonight's game. So in the crucial 9th inning, it was Trevor Rosenthal came in to begin the inning, and he's had a pretty good year as a whole, but lately he hasn't been the same, and he really struggled. He walked Bryce Harper to lead off the inning, and leadoff walks usually come back to haunt you, and boy, it almost did. And so Harper walked, then Zimmerman struck out, swinging a pitch in the dirt, and I believe he's 4 for his last 25. So he has really struggled recently after getting off to his phenomenal start. But throughout his history in DC, he's always best in the summer. So look for him to figure it out quickly for sure. And then Daniel Murphy singled, and then Anthony Rendon grounded into a fielder's choice, what looked like it could potentially be an inning-ending double play. But Trevor Rosenthal couldn't quite find the bag at first base. And then Stephen Drew singled into left field to finally put the Nationals on the board when they're down to their final out. And then Jose Lobaton managed to work a walk after taking a brutal foul ball off of his wrist forearm area. And it already had a lump. I'm not sure how he even managed to take his at-bat, let alone find a way on base. And then Adrian Sanchez, just called up yesterday to replace Trey Turner, came up for his first major league at-bat with the bases loaded and 2 outs, the game on the line, and struck out after a 9-pitch battle, struck out looking on a pitch that looked to be a whole ball off the plate. So we'll take a little look at the chat. Judo Joker said, he said, congrats on the call from Triple Edger. Thank you, Judo. And he said, like Sanchez's first at-bat, your first solo stream reeks of bad luck with that loss. And yeah, Sanchez, he put together a phenomenal at-bat. He saw 9 pitches with the game on the line. Like, when you come up into the big leagues, just the nerves are unbelievable. And then in order to be up there and manage to have such a great at-bat and almost tie the game or potentially put the Nats ahead was really unbelievable. Ricky says something about the Cardinals closer when he gets pulled from the game against a guy making his MLB debut. Yeah, Trevor Rosenthal, he used to be one of the best closers in the league. He throws triple digits. He's really tough at bat. And then last year he struggled. He was replaced by Sang-Hwan Oh. And then this year Oh struggled, which led to Rosenthal reclaiming the closer's role. But yeah, he's not been at his best lately, which was really evident tonight. Go through the line a little bit more. Sammy Solis, who was just called up today, or just activated today after spending almost 2 months on the disabled list, or over 2 months actually on the disabled list. His first pitch was not a great one. It was not a good welcome back to the big leagues for Solis. His first pitch was deposited into the left field stands from Alex Mejia, which was actually his first MLB home run. So there were a lot of firsts in tonight's game. But Solis, after that, he settled in. He managed to go 1 inning, allowed 2 hits, and 1 run on 1 strikeout. And he did give up the double to Randall Grichuk, but other than that, it wasn't a whole lot of contact against it. It wasn't a whole lot of solid contact against him. He was able to get weak contact like he's always been able to do for this Nats bullpen. And I think getting him back is a great addition for the pen. Yeah, Gio Joker mentioned that the pitch was 3.2 inches outside, and only 8% of umps call that. And I think the umpire might have been persuaded a little bit by Yadier Molina, who's one of the most respected catchers in the league. And as soon as he caught it, stood up and pumped his fist and celebrated before the umpire even made the call. And yeah, it was not a good pitch, but when you have Yadier Molina or Adrian Sanchez, I think Yadier Molina kind of gets the benefit of the doubt, and with his framing skills, I don't know, it really could have gone either way. So wasn't a whole lot of offense for the Nats. Anthony Rendon was the only guy who had multiple hits, and he really had a phenomenal game today, where he had the 2 hits, and he also played outstanding Gold Glove caliber defense in the field. He had early on, he had a diving play into the stands over at third, where Stephen Drew went in after him, and he came up limping a little bit, but that was definitely scary to see Stephen Drew limping, and he's only playing because he's replacing the injured Trey Turner. But he ended up being all right and staying in the game. And then Rendon also had a diving play, and threw out, I forget who it was. He made a nice diving stop and got the runner at second base for a fielder's choice. And then he booted a ground ball from Jed Jerko, but showcased his outstanding arm strength to throw out Jerko at first base. And then from the Cardinals, Randall Grichuk, since he's been a lot better since coming back up from single A, he went 1 for 4 tonight, although he did strike out twice, both looking. And the reason for his demotion to single A was to work on pitch recognition. It looks like he's getting there, but he's still a little he struggles a little bit. Yadier Molina went 1 for 2, and Alex Mejia went 2 for 3. It's a big night for him. He got his first major league hit early on, and then at the end of the game got his first major league home run off of Sammy Solis, which turned out to be the turning point in the game, with the Nationals managing to play to run in the top of the 9th. Because if Mejia hadn't hit that home run, we're looking at a tie game, and who knows what would have happened. So I'll look around the division a little bit. We had we have Atlanta beat Oakland 4-3. We have Baltimore, the other DC area team. They lost 10-3 to Baltimore, or they lost 10-3 to Tampa Bay. And for Tampa Bay, Wilson Ramos hit another home run. It's his second in his 5 games since returning from that brutal knee injury from last season when he was still with the Nats. Miami, they lost 8-4 to Milwaukee. Milwaukee, they've been playing real well this year. And the Mets managed to beat the Phillies 7-6. So that's a good win for a Mets team who's really, they've been limping along. They recently put Conforto on the DL with a hand injury, and they're really the walking wounded. So the Nats have them coming in this week after once they return from this St. Louis series. One thing that I'd like to point out tonight is Gio really pitched well, and with the All-Star vote, the fan vote being over, the manager, Joe Madden, he selects the pitchers, and Gio has pitched really well, and he said all year his goal is to pitch in that All-Star game in his hometown of Miami. Tonight was his last start before the teams are announced tomorrow night, and it was really a great final start before the All-Star teams are announced. And he also pitched well against the Cubs, which is Joe Madden's team. So he's making a great impression to possibly be named an All-Star, which is something that he's made clear he really would like to do. Some more Nationals news today. Jacob Turner was DFA'd to make room for Sammy Solis. So if he goes unclaimed, Dusty has said that they want him starting in AAA, see if he can figure it out. He's a former first-round pick from the Detroit Tigers, so he clearly has a lot of potential. It's just he hasn't quite been able to tap into it. So if he could go down to AAA and figure things out, he could end up being a good arm down the line for the Nationals, and possibly moving forward, he has quite a few years of team control left. And yeah, with Jacob Turner being DFA'd, another recent roster move, Trey Turner going on the DL. Tonight, it just really seemed like they missed him. When the Nats don't have the power going, his ability to get on and make stuff happen on the bases is what makes this offense so elite. And out, it's just they couldn't get a lot going against Michael Wacha, and the lineup shifted around a little bit with Michael Taylor moving from the 8 hole all the way up to the leadoff spot. And he's been hot, so I don't have any doubt that he can handle it. But with just so much shifting around, and then Goodwin, he's done well in the 2 hole. So the top of the lineup is still solid, but it's not what it was with Trey Turner, who, as good as he was going, he had 22 stolen bases just in June alone. I mean, if you have that at the top of your lineup, then you have the power of Bryce Harper, Ryan Zimmerman, Daniel Murphy, and Anthony Rendon in the heart of your lineup. There's just so many different ways that they can beat you. And then back in the chat, Ricky Keeler, he mentioned that Lobaton just walked out of the clubhouse with a trainer, possibly going to get an x-ray on his arm. And, man, that's going to be a tough blow to take with already several guys on the disabled list. If they lose Lobaton, and then they have to call up, let's say, a Pedro Severino or Rowdy Reed from the minors to be the backup catcher. And Severino hasn't been tearing things up in AAA, and Rowdy Reed is still in AA. So while Wieters is a solid starter, backup catcher still needs to play at least a couple times a week. And I don't know if the Nats can afford too many more injuries. They're starting to resemble their division rival New York Mets a little bit with all these injuries. But today they said Trey Turner is likely to be coming back at the end of August, early September, and the Nats aren't expected to attempt to acquire another shortstop. So that's good. They'll have him back in time for September and then the postseason. But right now it's just and Pedro Severino is on the DL, so they're probably looking at either Rowdy Reed or Spencer Kieboom. So yeah, there's not a whole lot of solid options that are major league ready. While Rowdy Reed and Spencer Kieboom have solid futures ahead of them, just we're looking to win right now. So with Matt Wieters as a starter, he might not have a whole lot behind him if Jose Lobaton has to hit the disabled list. Let's take a look around the minor leagues real quick. In a second. Yeah, Morin Rendon, he's been phenomenal recently, really all year. He got off to a little bit of a slow start coming off the disabled list, but lately he's just been terrific. And we'll talk about it a little later, but our own Ron Juckett had the opportunity to speak with Tim Kirkjian, and he said he thinks that Anthony Rendon makes the All-Star roster, which would be outstanding. I believe that'd be the first time in his career, and he definitely deserves it with what he's done at the plate. He's shown the capability of having some excellent games. We go 6 for 6 with 3 homers. Just Nats fans affectionately call him Tony Two Bags, and he's got great gap to gap power. He's really a force at the plate, and then also to play Gold Glove caliber defense in the field. He had several good solid plays today, and if it weren't for Nolan Arenado, he'd most likely win a few Gold Gloves. Let's take a look around the minor leagues. Hagerstown is currently losing to Lakewood 5-1 in Single A. That's the only game currently in progress. Earlier, Syracuse beat Buffalo 5-0. Edwin Jackson got the win, and he carried a no-hitter for 7+ innings. And he struggled a little bit with the Orioles this year, but after he got cut and he returned to the Nationals organization, he's pitched very well in Syracuse. I think tonight was his first hit allowed in 3 appearances, so he's been a great acquisition. If the bullpen doesn't figure things out, we might possibly see him in the big league bullpen as a long man. Because without Turner, you're looking at long man options as Joe Blanton, who really hasn't done anything since since coming here to DC. Look at Matt Albers, who's one of your potential closers with Enny Romero, and maybe Sammy Solis, who, while tonight was only his first game back, he gave up the home run. He gave up a double to Grichuk, and you don't know if he'll be able to eat innings like he used to coming off the injury. The Potomac Nationals, they lost 7-1 to Buies Creek in High A. And in the Harrisburg Sanders, they got postponed today due to rain. They were supposed to play Binghamton. Let's look back at the chat. Yeah, Judo Joker said Trey Turner is a huge blow. If they can't fix the bullpen, the division lead may be in danger. I think the starting rotation is too good, though. Yeah, you're right, Judo. Trey Turner, losing him is a big blow. But like you said, they do have a big lead, but yet, I mean, they haven't played real well of late. And they definitely need to acquire a few bullpen arms. I think Mike Rizzo has no choice but to acquire a few arms, whether they go over the luxury tax or not. I think, this team is too good not to do what it takes to put them in a position to win in the postseason. So I don't know if the division lead is in danger, but they're definitely struggling a little bit right now. But, they're too good not to figure it out. Let's take a look at what we had up on the site today. We had Ricky Keeler wrote a piece of a profile on Adrian Sanchez, who we saw a little bit tonight in that final inning. He couldn't get it done, but just he had ice water in his veins to have such a great at bat. And just really, to be honest, I wasn't expecting a whole lot from him in his first major league at bat with all that pressure, but he did a phenomenal job, and I was very impressed. So it'll be fun to watch him play moving forward when Stephen Drew needs a day off, if they'd prefer Adrian Sanchez over Wilmer Defoe. And as I mentioned earlier, Ron Juckett had the opportunity to talk with Tim Kirkjian of ESPN. So that's definitely, you got to check that out. That's one of the best pieces that I've seen on the site. And it was a great interview full of great nuggets in the interview. So tomorrow we have Max Scherzer facing Carlos Martinez. That should be a great matchup. Max Scherzer over the last month, he's been outstanding. He's been near unhittable. He's had a couple near no hitters, and last start against the Cubs, he didn't have his best stuff. He still managed to go 6 innings and only allowed 2 hits. So, what he's been able to do with his time in the Nationals, it's unbelievable. And just every start, it's must-watch TV. So you gotta make sure you tune into that game tomorrow. I believe they're the ESPN night game at ESPN Sunday night game at 8:00 before they come home to face the Mets and Braves before the All-Star break. And Carlos Martinez of the Cardinals, he's having another phenomenal year. He's got an electric arm, and he's gonna be tough to hit. But it should be, if you're into low-scoring pitchers duels, tomorrow is definitely a game for you, and it's the national game on ESPN. And we'd really appreciate it if you could give us, or if you could like and subscribe this on YouTube. If you could give us a like on Facebook, and if you could follow us on Twitter at District on Deck. And then you can follow me on Twitter at DrewRD98. I'll check the chat one last time. Yeah, Seth said he was expecting a base hit, and yeah, he put together, like I said, he put together a great at bat, and as the at bat went on, my confidence in him was growing more and more, because as he realizes that I'm sure he knew he could hit major league pitching, but as he's battling and putting together such an excellent at bat, I'm sure his confidence was growing. The nerves were starting to settle down a little bit. And, yeah, it was a shame that he got rung up on that pitch, because it clearly was not a strike, but it's just how it goes sometimes. Whatever the umpire calls, that's the call. We don't have computer umpires, at least yet, and while the umpires are human, so everyone makes mistakes. That happens in baseball. It's a 162 game season. All evens out in the end. And so from the whole District on Deck team or staff, I'm Drew Douglas, and thank you for tuning in tonight, and have a great rest of your night, and enjoy the game tomorrow. Good night.